Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvelcast Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers Defenders to Ahab and Ascani. My name's Ashmore, your mega-level host. Joining me today, Ultimate Kira Martian.
It is I, here to once again be totally and utterly first class.
Oh, and also joining us, the astonishing Doblight.
That's me.
Yep.
Fuck's sake.
All right. So yeah, we're kind of here at the end point of the original cast, I guess, kind of. Today we're talking about X-Men Days of Future Past. Or maybe the original comic book crossover. The first Endgame. Infinity War. Far From Home.
Sure.
Kind of.
All right. Before we get into it, please, we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot themes in the movie. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. Of course, it's streaming now on Disney+. That said, let's jump into X-Men Days of Future Past.
So many battles waged over the years. And yet, none of them like this. Are we destined to destroy each other? Or can we change who we are and unite? Is the future truly set? Mutants, we now find ourselves on the edge of extinction. You'll need to go into the past to end this war before it ever begins.
Use your power. Bring the X-Men together.
It's going to take the two of us, side by side at a time when we couldn't be further apart.
Released May 23rd, 2014. Directed by Bryan Singer. Screenplay by Simon Kinberg. Story by Jane Goldman, Simon Kinberg, and Matthew Vaughn. Based on X-Men by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Starring Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Halle Berry, Shawn Ashmore, Elliot Page, Peter Dinklage, Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart. The X-Men send Wolverine to the past in a desperate effort to change history and prevent an event that results in doom for both humans and mutants. Ciaran, do you remember when you saw Days of Future Past?
God, no. I saw it at some point in the cinema when it came out. I don't have any specific memories about it.
Dylan, you would have seen it in cinemas, right?
Yeah, 100% saw it in cinemas. I was super keen for it.
And the same. Yeah. I mean, I think my excitement was a little bit diminished when it was Bryan Singer instead of Matthew Vaughn, who pulled out midway through production, or like very close to the start from memory.
Yeah, it was like Singer stepping in to take back the franchise. It's like I ran into the ground with X-Men 3 and then someone came in and saved it and we all loved him and, you know, everyone was a big fan of Kick-Ass and... What?
He didn't do 3.
Yeah, but he was involved still, you know what I mean? And then he stepped back in and took over and it was a bit annoying. I remember the same thing.
Yeah. So Ciaran, what do you think of X-Men Days of Future Past?
I think this is the movie that gets the X-Men group the most right. I think it has like the best variety of X-Men characters that are actually done to a decent standard across the board. I think.
What's your feelings on Rogue in this one?
You know what? I'm glad she wasn't in it. I'm glad she wasn't anywhere to be seen.
She was in it. What are you talking about?
She had 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
I think I blinked.
She was in like 5 seconds in a hallway. The perfect amount for Ciaran.
Yeah, it is. She didn't talk or try and do anything, or it was great.
We all watched the Disney Plus version, not the Rogue cut that Dylan's got, right?
Damn, yes, I did. Disappointingly.
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
Rogue cut's better version, but anyway.
When they relaunched the X-Men with Rogue, we can come back and watch it.
I doubt it. I think Hugh Jackman does really well in this. I think this is prior to Logan, like him his like maybe his next best performance as Wolverine. And it's my favorite version of Charles Xavier. I think Xavier in this movie, I think, is so fucking flawed and so human in this movie and actually like personable that I adore McAvoy's performance and the enjoyment of it. I think all around it's a good movie. It gets things right. It lands and it builds upon what they've done in the previous iterations with both casts and improves them, but then also doesn't kind of overstay anything. And it was also impressive at the time that this was considering both versions of Quicksilver were kind of placed on the cinema at the same time or reasonably in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the small moment where Fox got to celebrate a one-up over Marvel on something because they did the better version of Quicksilver. That just became their downfall in the next movie.
Yeah. Dylan, what do you think of the movie?
Yeah, I think this is the best X-Men movie. Like not
the best X-Men
solo
with X-Men in the title.
movie. Yeah, the best X-Men movie. It's just the culmination, I guess, of both sides. You know, the prequel era stuff or whatever, and then bring back, and they do such a good job of having all the two sides and generations of actors playing off one another. The future stuff, everyone, like, you sort of forget that Wheels died there for a minute, but anyway, he's back. And then you know, I think sending Wolverine back, at first I was like, like, I remember not liking the idea because obviously it's meant to be kiddie. Like, I read the comic book,
the comic version.
Yeah, I read the comic book.
Well, it's interesting because the comic version it goes the opposite way, right?
Yeah,
because Kitty gets sent forward through time to a alternate future where, you know, the Sentinels have wiped out all mutants or round them up or whatever. So they're taking the idea of time travel within X-Men and kind of like making it fit for the universes they've kind of set up.
No, I remember when they just announced the title, that I was like, I'll go grab that graphic novel and read it, and then like tracking the production and finding out it was going to be Wolverine. It was nothing against like Wolverine and Hugh Jackman, but I remember being like disappointed just because I had it so set up in my head that it wouldn't be him. But I think it makes sense, and he does such a good job, and he is sort of that. He does work as a good like base character to have work for the time travel elements and be able to talk to Professor X and get him on board and talk shit to Beast and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, the story in this one's the best one. It's the most like narratively sound. It's probably got the best overall consistency between the action set pieces. It does the best job at balancing all the characters. It's, yeah, I mean, there's not really too many negatives about this when it comes to being a high functioning superhero film with so many characters. Like, it's definitely, I think, the best one to balance. I still think this probably balances all the characters better than even any of the Avengers movies and stuff did. So yeah.
Wow. That's a bold claim. Yeah, I think definitely on this rewatch I'm like, wow, this is probably the best of these X-Men movies. Like, we all loved X-Men 2 when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but there's just something special about this, and like it's crazy because obviously there was only one prequel movie. This was the second movie with that cast, yet it felt like the perfect fit and perfect, you know, they didn't feel inferior to the original cast coming back in any sort of way. Yeah, obviously Hugh, you know, he's fantastic through the entire movie. You know, it's really enjoyable. I think Ciaran hit the nail on the head. This is a really fun Charles Xavier, you know. It's a version of Charles we don't ever really see. One who's kind of fallen off the path or has doubts and that kind of stuff, and like is actively choosing not to use his powers and kind of running away, and that's kind of an interesting element to the character that, you know.
I did think, like, personally, I did think it was like super backwards decision when it originally came out to have him walking even if the explanation was, blah blah blah, blah you're turning
Drugs.
He's drugs to subdue his mutant powers, he gets to walk out of it. But I'm like, okay, but then you're taking what was like the maybe the emotional kind of climax of the last movie, and you're kind of being like, yeah, we did that then, but we don't want to have him in a wheelchair this whole movie, so we're going to kind of undo that for a little bit and then get him into it again. And does feel a little weird. I don't think I'm as critical of it as I was when it originally came out, but it is probably the only minor negative I have when it comes
No,
to
I think it's interesting from a thematic point of like maybe he started taking these drugs like because he wanted to walk, but then it dulled his sense like mutant abilities, and he enjoyed that element just as much as the ability to walk, really. So then to actively choose not to actively choose not to walk anymore or have the ability to use your legs, I mean, that's a difficult choice. Yeah. I think they did the Sentinels pretty well. Obviously, the history of the Sentinels is pretty vast.
I remember how excited I was going into this because there was Bishop was in the trailers for this movie, and I fucking love Bishop as an X-Men member.
You're like, oh, he's going to be a massive part of this movie.
I didn't think he was going to be massive, but he is like
Omar Sy, by the way, who
he's really good.
He's obviously gone on to bigger and better things.
And it's a good take on Bishop. It's just never goes anywhere. You're like, oh.
I mean, that's not what he's there for, really.
No, it's not.
He's there to
sad.
be a cool guy to stop the Sentinels towards the end. He's cannon fodder, really. I love the openings of this movie as well. Of like all this team of X-Men, most of them which we haven't been introduced to before, outside of Kitty, Colossus, and Iceman. Actually getting to showcase their powers to the fullest extent, like more than they showed in any of the movies before. Fighting these crazy next level Sentinels, only to like do this time travel thing to like never be there. Which I don't know if that's a time travel.
They use they're going for a specific version of time.
They're going a very specific version of time travel.
They're using the idea that they rewrite time.
This is the actual Back to the Future version.
Yeah, not the like they just create an alternate thread. Like technically, there would be a thread where they did die.
Yeah, there is a multiverse where they died just then.
Well, there is a multiverse because I've seen Captain Marvel 2's end credits. You know what I mean?
Fucking hell.
Spoilers. Beast shows up at the end.
Yeah. So
Kieran probably doesn't know. He hasn't watched that movie. I don't think.
No, I have. Fuck you guys. I definitely
Did you? The Marvels? You watched the Marvels?
Yeah, I've watched the Marvels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch the end credits?
Yeah, I did. It was Beast and Storm, wasn't it? Storm was the other one.
Wow.
I can't remember who.
There's a black woman there, and you imagine the Storm.
No, it was a
It was a variant of Lashana Lynch.
Not Storm, but yeah.
Whoops. That's right. That makes
Yes.
sense now. Yep.
That's it. And she says, "Mum."
Yeah.
Yeah, not Storm, but anyway.
Yep. I thought it was interesting where they took Mystique this movie. Obviously, she's kind of fallen out with Magneto, I guess, or like gone her own separate way and has gone about trying to get revenge.
She's a renegade.
She is a renegade. Trying to get revenge for all these mutants that Bolivar Trask is murdered. Also goes to Vietnam and frees like a bunch of mutant soldiers. A quick cameo from Havoc and Toad.
Yep. Why not?
Which is like a good version of Toad as well. It's not like the shit. Fucking...
Yeah, it looks better than.
Well, he in this timeline he might not turn out because don't forget this is the new timeline where X-Men 1 doesn't happen. So.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into how this affects the timeline in a sec. But yeah, I enjoyed the idea of her. The idea of the mutant using her DNA to create the Sentinels that are able to transform into different ideas, which raises the interesting idea which raises creates the interesting moment where Magneto goes, fuck, we should just kill Mystique because that's the only way we're going to save the future.
My problem has always been like Mystique can like mimic people, but she can't like mimic their powers.
Yeah, like she can mimic her appearance.
That's true.
But not.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because when she's fighting Wolverine in the
Like she
first
can mimic
movie,
his
like, her
claws, but like she can mimic it, but she can't mimic
Wolverine
his
cuts
healing.
through his claws, right?
Yeah,
From memory?
she can't she can't mimic healing. She can't mimic
that's true.
like
Yeah.
so
Mm.
just a visual thing.
Yeah.
And tone thing.
Yeah, I mean, Kieran touched on it, but Quicksilver in this movie,
Really good.
incredible sequence that they try to top several times in the future. I don't know if they ever did. We'll get into it.
The one in the movie after this is okay, but it's not as good as I
mean,
don't think it's as good as
it
this.
don't hit.
We'll talk about
doesn't
Nick.
hit the
It screams the hey guys, you liked this in the last one, so here, have more, eat it,
Bigger
like
and
it, enjoy
bigger.
it. Ugh. Yeah.
But I mean, you are right. In the time when we had Age of Ultron versus this sequence, it was like, well, one clear winner here.
One used a really cool cinematic trick, and the other one just had the guy disappear like half the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the prison break. I love the idea of Magneto being in prison because they framed him for the murder of JFK. It turns out he was trying to save him because JFK was a mutant, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other, like, obviously, what do you think of the future cast? Obviously, you know, it was cool seeing Storm come back. Halle Berry actually going to be like full on Storm.
Well, I
That
mean,
was really
she leads the team. Really, she's the one outside fighting with the X-Men.
Yeah,
In the future, she's captain.
I do think the moment between like past/present Charles and future Charles is really nice. Like to have the two Xaviers
connect.
kind of
Yeah,
connect and have that moment of interaction. I think that's a real nice almost passing of the torch. Like I was almost like very comfortable with this being like this is the last performance of Patrick Stewart in this role. Like I was very comfortable with that fact at the time. Kind of going into this being like, because this comes up before Logan, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So
It would be really weird if this came out after Logan.
it would be very strange. Yeah, I think having this and being like, okay, this is his last Charles role. He's now kind of quote unquote passed the torch, you know, onward. It would have been kind of nice or kind of interesting if they could have also done the same thing between Ian McKellen and
Michael Fassbender.
there we go, Fassbender.
Yeah.
That was the name I was thinking of. If they'd had a similar moment,
I don't know how you could have pulled that off.
No, I don't know either.
Well, magnets.
They finally get
Magnets.
two of the same poles touch.
They connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. What did you guys think of the finale of the movie? Obviously, you know, you got Magneto lifting RFK Stadium, apparently, and dropping it on the White House, completely calling it off, and then, you know, fighting. He takes control of some Sentinels,
I actually think it's the worst part of the movie.
which he
probably.
did previously on the train.
Like, not for any particular reason, but just
You think
the
it just
pacing's
hits
off.
third act syndrome a little bit, where
Yeah,
it's
a
like,
little
holy
bit.
shit, we need to finish this, and we need to wrap this all up and be at the nice little bow at the end of it already.
Yeah, pretty much. I just don't. They're like, it's like when talking about the finale is more interesting than actually doing the finale. I guess.
Yeah, I guess the big problem is it feels like, I guess, as a superhero movie, it's what the studio wants is like the big superhero battle at the end of the movie. And I don't necessarily think this movie needed that. Maybe having a big battle with the Sentinels that ended up with a win for the X-Men could have been a cool way to do it, or like something like that. But I guess the way that they forced the situation with Magneto to happen is, I think it feels a little bit like it's kind of wedged in there.
Yeah, I kind of agree, because you could have resolved it, but also had the big battle with them fighting off the Sentinels in the future. that would have been enough to, like, sate people's lust for action in the third act. But, that's a lot of fun. Ciaran, who's the mutant of the movie?
I think it's Charles Xavier. I think this is, as I said, and as you said, Ash, like, this is the most human character portrayed version of Charles Xavier. He's not perfect. He's rough around the edges. He has his own flaws. He feels like a more person you can connect with as another human being or as another mutant.
All right. Dylan, who's the mutant of the movie?
I'm going to go with Professor Xavier. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be contrarian, and even though Professor Xavier is the mutant of the movie, I'm going to give a shout out to Blink, who was the real MVP at the end of the movie, and is actually saving everybody in the future, but with her teleporting powers. She's really cool.
MVP, really?
Really?
It's really Charles, but I want to give a shout out.
You want to give
You
the
can give a
shout out to
shout
the
out, but,
equivalent of the equivalent to like Uber, but for mutants. Like, she was just
Listen,
transported.
you said Will.i.am was the best part of Wolverine Origins, so don't talk any
That's
shit.
because that's Wolverine Origins, okay? Like that was a breakout performance in that movie.
All right, Ciaran, what's the most marvelous moment of Days of Future Past?
I actually think the Wolverine's kind of past/present day ending, I think, is very interesting, because I remember it being confused when I watched it the first time and thinking, wait, this changes a lot of shit. Like, for this timeline, this changes how and when he runs into Stryker. Like, his relationship with Stryker is just not there anymore. In some ways, it removes some of the best aspects of that relationship from X-Men 2. Like, it kind of undoes maybe the best and solid part of X-Men 2 as a whole, and it's a very confusing.
Well, I mean, technically, it undoes X-Men 2 completely.
Yes, but like,
You assume
even
that
like,
movie never happens.
Yes, but it's more like, I guess, the potential for them to go back down the same path is just not there anymore. Like, he's not part of
It
Stryker's
shouldn't be
team.
there anymore.
Yeah, like, it shouldn't be there anymore. Like, it's just, he's not part of Stryker's team. Like, it's insinuated that Stryker is like taking him from there to stuff him full of adamantium. So it's like, okay, that means that, all right, so there's no like, it's like Wolverine Origins also gets deleted because there's
I mean,
no
that's the
like,
most important thing.
that's the most important thing, I guess, for lots of people. But like,
We assume.
yeah, it's like Wolverine Origins gets deleted, X-Men 2 gets deleted. It's just a very interesting but kind of confusing and conflicting.
Well, to be
choice
clear,
to
it's
make.
not deleted. It's just changed in this timeline.
Changed in the timeline. Yes, yeah.
Dylan, what's your most marvelous moment?
It's sort of hard. I feel like there's a few too many. Like, actual, compared to, we'd been talking about films that had like one or two only
Yeah.
good ones, and then we're talking about an actually good movie. I'm gonna go with just something slightly. I'm gonna go with when Logan first sees Stryker, and then just the fact that Kitty's having to, put through the pain and like really be the boss in that moment. Like, if
She
Kitty
could be
had
the MVP.
yeah, I mean, she could be the MVP. True. Like, she takes a blow from Wolverine's claws and keeps it going. But if she'd let go, then that would have been it. That would have been game over. So
Yeah.
I think that's a highlight. Really, it's like
really
it's a
cool.
misunderstood. No, well, you could easily blink and miss like how important, I guess, that moment is. I guess.
Yeah. I've got to go the prison break sequence. Just the way Quicksilver gets into the prison. The cool like cement prison, I guess, like they've built. That's really cool. Him breaking him out. Charles and Eric like meeting again for the first time, and Charles just decking him, which I think is the one example of him actually getting physical with anybody in these movies. And then, of course, the Quicksilver saving them from getting riddled with bullets, I think is super impressive. All right, let's touch on the end of your movie and the ramifications of them changing the timeline. Like we've kind of hinted at, they've kind of rewrit the timeline, so purely because then they could continue these line of films with their own timeline and not need to be beholden to what came before. I think it's interesting, and like it feels very much.
The only reason they did it is so they could attempt to make fucking Dark Phoenix again.
Well, so they can make more X-Men movies with these prequel casts, and not have to worry about continuity. But yeah, I mean, this works as like an ending, a happy ending, I guess, kind of. We get Rogue back for a moment, and despite Bobby and Kitty being together the entire movie, Bobby's straight back to Rogue in the improved future. Of course, Jean and Cyclops are alive as well.
It is a good ending. Like, it is a good wrap up for everyone. I think. Like, it's sort of corny, like how sentimental it is a bit, but it works.
I mean, it works even better because then we get Logan later. But
yeah,
I think my only issue is the very, very end where Wolverine is getting pulled out of the out of the river with a bunch of rebar in his body, which is fucking messed up. Would be, and because it's all bent and already hardened in place, it's like how the hell do you get that out?
Well, they would cut it.
Yeah.
And then,
I guess, but like motherfucker.
Is that really
but that
issue how they get the rebar?
That wasn't Stryker at the end of the movie, right?
No, it was Mystique.
Mystique, right?
Yes, correct.
So how does Wolverine go from this point to what we know happens in the next movie?
Fuck to find though.
That's my one.
They were like, we'll set it up so we have no continuity errors. Next film. Fuck it. Forget everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like this was the chance to say goodbye to the original cast, and they did it in a good way, Happy ending. Do you have anything else you want to talk about from Days of Future Past?
Yeah, Road Cut's good. Watch it if you can find it. Yep.
So, from my understanding, she plays the role of Kitty in that movie, right? She's the one sending him back, right?
What?
Is Rogue the one holding his head that's sending him into the past? Is that what the Rogue Cut is?
No, it just has a bunch of Rogue scenes.
Oh.
Changes himself. Yeah.
Does she have powers in that?
Yeah. It's about 20 minutes extra in the movie.
Does she spend the entire time being upset that Kitty and Bobby are together?
No.
Okay.
That said, I haven't watched it for like 10 years, but anyway.
Such a weird... I don't know, why do you think she was cut from the movie?
Karen Brodian.
Yeah, I did.
All the haters. All the Rogue haters.
Yeah. That's all it took.
Alright. Let us know what you thought of X-Men Days of Future Past by going to explosionetwork.com/Twitter or jump into Discord, explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. And you can leave 5 stars or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you watch X-Men Apocalypse and join us next time for another All New Marvelcast.